Hello everybody, Timothy Bailey with Project Learn, and today we're going to look at something a little more advanced than some of the other things we look at. So maybe your English is doing well, your writing, your vocabulary, right? You're well along the way in your English sort of career. But a common mistake, even for native speakers, relates to the use of modifiers. In particular, we're looking at dangling and misplaced modifiers. So what do these words mean? Well, let's look at dangling. You can see the man here climbing this cliff, this ledge, right? And he is hanging there by one hand. Luckily, he has a safety rope here, it looks like. But he is dangling. So dangling, sort of just hanging there out in nothing, right? Not solid, not well placed, just hanging, sort of in a dangerous spot, perhaps. Misplaced, here we can see we're in a refrigerator, so here's somebody's leftover food, some milk, perhaps some juice, a variety of different things in the refrigerator. Except one thing that doesn't belong, someone's keys, right? The keys to their car and their house, perhaps. Well, misplaced means to have a place, but it's the wrong place. Okay, so keep these pictures in mind when we're talking about them here in just a little bit. But what is a modifier? Well, in English, or any language, right? For grammar, a modifier is a word, such as an adjective or adverb, the most popular, or a phrase that describes another word or group of words. You can see they give us a couple examples. A red hat, the adjective red, is a modifier describing hat. In they were talking loudly, the adverb loudly is a modifier of the verb talking. Okay? So these are what modifiers are. So we're going to look at ones that dangle and ones that are misplaced. Right? What are other examples of modifiers, just to be clear of what they are? Again, they're words, phrases, or clauses. The most popular ones, I have 4 of them, are adjectives. She bought a new red coat. Okay, so actually both new and red are adjectives for coat. Adverbs, the definition told us, they are leaving tomorrow, right? So tomorrow tells us about when they are leaving. Participle phrases. The girl cleaning up the toys is my daughter. So this whole phrase, cleaning up the toys, tells us about this person, the subject, right? Not some other girl, the girl reading the book or the girl taking a nap or whatever, right? It's the girl cleaning up the toys. That tells us about this particular girl who happens to be my daughter. And one last one, prepositional phrases. I will be attending along with my parents. Right? So along with my parents, right, modifies, right, attending. Right? It tells us more information about that. So let's go ahead and look at some more examples. What does it mean if a modifier is dangling or misplaced? Dangling modifiers, a modifier that doesn't actually modify what it is supposed to modify. And usually this is because it's absent. The thing that is supposed to be modified is not there in the sentence. Returning home late, the door was locked. Right, so we look at this, we're trying to figure out what the subject was. This here, right, doesn't have a subject. There's no subject here. The door was locked, right? So this is an independent clause, right? A sentence unto itself. The door was locked. This one is not, right? So did the door return home late? No, that doesn't make sense, right? People return home late, right? Here is our modifier, okay? But we don't have anything that it's modifying, right? Remember, dangling about being absent, right? The thing that it's modifying is absent. And we know that often because the activity right, involved returning home late in the modifier is something that the only possible subject can't do. The door cannot return home late. So it's easy to identify that we're missing a subject. Returning home late, Zach found the door was locked. So now, right, this is modifying, right? Zach telling us about Zach. We have the subject, we have the verb, what he did, right? We have all of the parts we need for this sentence. Okay. Subjects are often one of the most difficult things for students. So when you're looking at a sentence, you're trying to understand the sentence, either yours or somebody else's, pay special attention to the subject, right? If we didn't have this blue part here, it would be very easy. Here's the subject, the door, here's the verb, was locked, okay? But we do have this part, and we don't have a subject that can go with this modifier. A couple other examples, looking at the return policy, the gift was kept. Again, right, this sort of gerund here, looking, right? The gift cannot do that, just like the door cannot return home, right? So we know we're missing some subject. Looking at the return policy, I decided to keep the gift. I might rewrite the sentence, right? Another example, tired, the couch was the best place to relax. So who is tired? Well, a person, right? Although this one, it could easily be an animal as well, right? Tired, comma, I found the couch was the best place to relax. I decided the couch was the best place to relax. Tired, my dog found the couch was the best place to relax. Okay, so it doesn't matter. For this one, some sort of living thing going on here. Now, what about our misplaced modifiers? So dangling modifiers typically related to the thing it is modifying being absent from the sentence. Well, a misplaced modifier is a modifier that is too far away from what it is supposed to modify. Okay, that's typically the problem. Walking home yesterday, I found an enormous girl's doll. So for this one, we have no problem here. This just tells us about the subject, right? And that it happened yesterday, walking home yesterday. This one, the problem is here, right? With the other two modifiers. If you look in the sentence, so enormous and girls. They're arranged in a way that it makes for two possible understandings of the word, right? And for misplaced modifiers, this is very common. Because of where the modifier is placed in a sentence, it leads to some confusion. So what is enormous, right? In this sentence, how it is now, right, it would mean an enormous girl, right, is what it would mean, right? This girl's very big. Her mom right here looks very small compared to the girl, right? So I found an enormous girl's doll. That's probably not the intended meaning, right? We're probably, the writer of this sentence, not trying to say that the girl is enormous, but that the doll is enormous. So we need to change it. Walking home yesterday, I found a girl's enormous doll, right? A doll for a girl, and the doll happens to be very large. Okay. This switching of modifiers, very common for misplaced modifiers, and very common for both native English speakers and those whose first language is not English. Another example, she took a bite of the sandwich that was too big. Well, what is too big? Is it the sandwich is too big or the bite is too big? It could be either, right? But if it's the bite, we're going to need to move this closer to the bite. And we would probably say something like, she took too big of a bite of the sandwich. So being closer to what it's modifying makes it clear that the bite was too big. Okay. Here's a funny example from a comedian, a comedian from the past, right? Groucho Marx. One morning, I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How he got into my pajamas, I'll never know, right? So we're paying attention to this first part here. And what is modifying something in this sentence, right? Well, in my pajamas, right? This is a prepositional phrase. There's the preposition, in my pajamas. So we have to figure out, well, what was in the pajamas? There's only two possibilities, right? There's I, the pronoun, right? And there's the elephant. So in this picture, Groucho Marx is in his pajamas. But the other possible meaning, the elephant is in pajamas, right? Well, again, often for misplaced modifiers, one of them is silly. So we can easily figure out, well, that's not true, right? Not always, but that often happens. So an elephant, probably not wearing pajamas. So that's probably not what we are modifying, that the elephant was in pajamas. So to do this, we sort of have to rearrange the sentence in a more difficult way, right? Probably we would say something like, one morning, while wearing my pajamas, I shot an elephant. Okay? Something like that to let us know here, the pronoun I, right, was the one wearing the pajamas. I hope this is helpful and interesting. There are a couple links here. This one has both of them have general information about modifiers. Perhaps the best advice to give if you are still working on the quality of your writing and the correctness of your writing is to start simple, right? You'll notice that some of these sentences used clauses and then a comma, then the independent rest of the sentence. Well, to avoid that, try to just make it a single sentence, right, without commas separating clauses. Okay, that often can make your writing simpler, right? If you're working on adjectives together, keep in mind what is modifying what, okay? And be very careful the order that you put them in. Thank you for listening today. Have a great day.